Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 6th of December 2025. Okay, we'll be reading out of the book of 2nd Ezra. We'll be reading about the man that came up out of the sea. And we're going to go back and deal with that according to some things that I came across recently. Okay, you go to our YouTube channel, the Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, and get the meat out. These videos lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay. We have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen for those that want to support the channel, help it move along. That too would be greatly appreciated. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called book of remembrance. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer and our Deliverer, the Lord of Hosts. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up in these last days to their true identity and understanding also who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to the channel and welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence. Okay. We're going to do our prayer, psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. And then we'll open it up for anybody who have any questions, any comments, dialogue, and testimonies. And then we go into our topic for discussion, which is I'll be playing a video, and it's entitled The Most High is Allowing Prophecy to Be Fulfilled in These Last Days. We're going to look at it, then we're going to write it about it. And then our scripture reading will be out, like I said, 2nd Ezra, the man that came up out of the sea. Then we'll pick a scripture, and then we'll close out. Okay. So with that being said, okay. With that being said, this moment of silence for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before Thee on your Sabbath day, thanking You for Your mercy and Your great power. We appreciate You, O Lord, for Your patience and guidance in these last days, and we thank You for awakening us to this great understanding of Your word. We come before You that You keep and direct us, guide us through the upcoming week. Oh Lord, we see Your hand, Your mighty hand in the world's affairs, and how You are constructing Your people's deliverance, and we trust and rely upon Thee. And for this cause, we honor and respect You greatly. Turn not Thy face from us, but allow us in our searching of You to find You in these last days, O Lord, and to dwell with You. Peace be unto You. Okay. Read the Psalms real quick. Okay. Okay, I'll read Psalms 7, a prayer for deliverance. Okay. O Lord my God, in Thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me and deliver me, lest He tear my soul like a lion, rending it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is my enemy. Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it, yea, and let him tread down my life upon the earth and lay mine honor in the dust. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger, and lift up thyself because of rage, the rage of my enemies, and awake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about, for There's, for their sake, therefore, return thou on high. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to all my righteousness and according to my integrity that is in me. O let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just, for the righteous God trieth the hearts and the reins. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. Okay, if he turn not, he will with his sword. He have bent his bow and made it ready. He have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and have conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He made a pit and dug it, and is fallen into it, to the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dwellings shall come down upon his own plate. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and I will sing praises to the name of the Lord the Most High. Okay, so I was going to shine a light on the fact that what David is revealing to us is the Lord's judgment on the wicked, right? I'm going to start at verse 11. It says, God judges the righteous. God is angry with the wicked every day, right? Then he says, if he turn not, he will with his sword. He have bent his bow and made it ready. He have also prepared for him, this the wicked. Lord have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutor. Behold, he travaileth with wickedness, with iniquity, and have conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. So we know that they lied to us. 15, he made a pit, he dug it, and he fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return. We're looking at this right now. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own plate. Then 17, I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and I will sing praises to the name of the Lord, the Most High. Okay. So with that being said, nobody have any comments? Okay, we'll go to our current events. And like I had said, I was telling you about things to come. These people, they already got a plan for us, and that we had that decade, the first decade of people of African descent, and I showed you how all they did was came up with suggestions over these last 10 years, and now this second year of people of African descent. We started in January. Now they're going to be coming with concrete solutions. They're going to be bringing everything to a head. And so right here, we can see right here, they're getting ready to do the reparations thing. Check it out.
It's Vicky Dill for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, family. You all have know over the years I've been doing back-to-back nonstop coverage as it relates to reparations for Black Americans, foundational Black Americans.
Boule hitting it up.
Here in these United States of America, yes. Well, of course, there are different reparations. Of course, we are generally in agreement with federal or national reparations for us because of what the government of the United States has done. Of course, then there's different corporations, large, very wealthy corporations, businesses, banks, institutions, and other similar systems that are responsible for giving us reparations as well. And then that's on a national level, that's on a larger level, and that deals with different entities, yes, companies, corporations, and so forth. But also, there's things that's related to both state and local movements that are happening. So the conspiracy and the plot to destroy Black Americans is very large, and it's on multiple streams. And so wherever there's a demand for reparations, I'm with it. Yes. Well, one group, organization, CJEC, which is a California reparations organization, a conglomeration of different pro-reparations groups that work together very effectively. Black grassroots activists on the ground that's making things happen and constantly pushing for legislation. With our brothers, there are many others, but for example, with our brother Chris Lodgson, one of the things that the California reparations activists have made clear is this. Hopefully you can see this post that they put up recently. And basically they're saying, come check or else. There's a whole lot of shenanigans. I've talked to you in times past about the nonstop plot from the local Black lawmakers even, including the white ones, but certainly the local Black lawmakers, as well as the white liberal governor, Newsom, that strategically worked together to sabotage intentionally the reparations bill there in California multiple times. Yes, well, one of the things that they make very clear in this post, as you'll see, it says what? Real reparations equals, pay attention, income, assets, lineage, not studies, programs, apologies, government bureaus, or other actions with no tangible economic benefit. They're telling their local lawmakers, they're cut the check, baby, or else. They're not supporting it, is what they're making very clear. Somebody say cut the check. Somebody put some money in the check. Somebody put a bank in the check.
Okay.
We're not talking about things like apologies, which one cannot cash. We're not talking about what it say, government bureaus, right? We're not talking about programs, they said. And other actions with no tangible. Somebody say tangible. Somebody say tangible. So because we live in the earth realm, we got to be able to see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, handle it, yes? So the activists there are being very clear, cut the check or else. We are not supporting, backing anything else that is not absolute tangibles. And I think that they're very clear. I am so proud of them, and family, do whatever you can to support, to research, and to connect with them. Remember, this is Kamala Harris's state. When she was running for president, she made it very clear what she would know.
Okay, ain't that what was in the, when we was reading the objectives of the second decade, was that they was going to come with concrete solutions, and we're looking at it unfolding. But the average person don't know nothing about these decades of people of African descent. They know nothing about that. All they're doing is they saw what happened in the first one, and now they're going to get the results of the second one, which is concrete results. But just like the NAACP, these Edomites behind it. Okay. So anyway, any comments on that?
Shalom, everyone. I'm hoping everyone has a nice day today. If we can go back to, and this is something I'm going to have to research again, but as one says or states, I'm a Black African American citizen. The word Black does not, in the Constitution, does not relate or to, I'll say, recognize you as a citizen when you mention you're Black, you mention you're an African American. So with all the talk about how we're doing this and that, on your birth certificate, they say that it is already owned, you already have been enslaved by United States by having your birth certificate and your social security number, all those little things like that adds up. But to mention that you're a Black and not just that you are a citizen of the United States, that holds back a lot. And so when you pronounce yourself as a Black African American, that's something we have to look up. That takes away from you being a citizen of the United States, and you're recognizing you to have your reparation. Because Frederick Douglass said, when he said the people, that means everyone. But when you say that you're a Black person, that takes away from the people as everyone in the Constitution. So that's something I'm going to go and look up. And if anyone else wants to help me out with that, I'll be great with that.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
Shalom, everyone. Um, in alignment with what Sister Cheryl was just saying, I was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, max. I was watching a older video. YouTube is great; they have tons of old videos, but I don't remember who was speaking, but they were saying something similar in regards to um, people who became on the slave ships always being behind everyone. Even after we came here and other people started migrating here, everybody was called white but us. It didn't matter where you came from, India, China, Japan. And quite honestly, there were some people, because they were not African American, like Sister Cheryl said, but they were coming from Ghana or they were coming from Libya, they were not African American. So that still gave them a one step, that everybody was always above us because they were not African American. Even though you migrated here, as long as you were not African American, we knew that we could basically still call you white despite the color of your skin. Um, so I was looking up something like that, and it's just a coincidence, Sister Cheryl, that you brought it up.
Don't the scriptures, ain't that what the curses say? We're going to be at the bottom. All it's doing is living out, all it's doing is playing out.
Prophecy, yes, sir.
Yeah, we're at the bottom. And we know the African American is the Israelite. So it's just scriptures playing out. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay, so we'll go to this next one. I thought this is pretty interesting. This tied to scripture too. So we'll check it out. Oh, the video.
Him say World War II was good for the American.
So this video is about how they systematically, black boys are intentionally underdeveloped by the school system.
Economy. But Asians would say they were placed in camps in California. Same event, but these two groups see it differently. If it's multicultural, no group is in the center. But when you run the world, then you can do whatever you want. Columbus can discover America. Lincoln can be the one that freed the slaves. You can even make, if you want to, America large in Africa. Africa is 2.5 times the size of the United States. But when you run the world, you can make America large in Africa. You can even move Africa over here and put America in the middle. I challenge you. In your school system, do you have maps showing Africa larger than America? Do you have maps that show Africa in the center of the world? That's exactly where it is. A multicultural education. But beyond content, let's also look at learning styles. The work is from Piaget, from Asa Hilliard, from Janice Hill Benson, titled Black Children, Their Roots, Their Culture, Their Learning Style. Remember when you were in school, it's called a split brain theory. The rumor is they're walking around with half a brain. The split brain theory. Remember, when you were in school, the rule was that instructors teach their subjects, but teachers understand how children learn. There are two sides to the brain. There's the right side of the brain, which is holistic. It sees everything. Very good in areas like music and in sports. That's the right side of the brain. But you also have the left side of the brain, very analytical. It breaks things into parts. Very good in math and in science. Now, it has been said in some private academic circles that people of color are better on the right side of the brain, and the people that lack color are better on the left side of the brain. Now, my question to you, did God go to sleep with black folks on the left, but wake up on their right? Did God wake up with Europeans on their left, but go back and sleep on their right? And before you answer, please remember, 86% of the NBA, National Basketball Association, starters are black, but only 1% of the engineers in this country are black. And isn't it true that all black folks can dance? That we all got rhythm? Is it physical or is it culture? Come on now. Can't hear you. Cultural. Now I agree with you, Terry, but our children don't.
Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu begins by challenging his audience to understand that people can witness the same event and interpret it in entirely different ways. He uses this insight to illustrate that multiculturalism, often touted as a national idea, is more myth than reality under a system structured by white supremacy. Kunjufu argues that the same institutions and individuals who praise multiculturalism frequently participate in the denigration of African people, their culture, and their land. This contradiction reveals that multiculturalism in America is rarely practiced with sincerity. It is within this dishonest framework, Kunjufu argues, that Black boys must navigate schooling systems never designed with their empowerment in mind. Turning to the education system, Kunjufu indicts it for its ongoing and deliberate underdevelopment of Black boys. He emphasizes that the learning styles of Black boys are rarely considered, explored, or valued. While Black boys do receive an education, they are seldom taught by educators whose intention is to empower them academically or culturally. Instead, society places enormous emphasis on preparing Black boys for athletics, training them to run, jump, and catch, while placing far less emphasis on preparing them to think, question, innovate, and lead. This societal funneling into sports, he argues, is no coincidence. It reflects a system that values Black physicality, but devalues Black intellect.
Would you believe, I could probably ask anyone here in Cincinnati in terms of the youth to go one-on-one with any white boy on a basketball court, they'd have no problem. Go be scared stiff in the laboratory. I believe as you do. I believe it's culture. But our children believe they have a better chance of doing well on the right side of the brain. You see, my concern is that you do most will be that you do best. But more important, that you are allowed to do. We've always been encouraged to sing and dance and play basketball, but not to become involved in math and science. For remember, there are 5 ways to communicate an idea in a classroom. And those 5 are written, which is left brain, oral stories, right brain, pictures, right brain, fine arts, right brain, and artifacts, right brain. There are 5 ways to communicate an idea in a classroom. Most schools use an exclusive left brain methodology and a left brain test with large numbers of right brain thinking children. A tremendous tragedy. There are 2 ways to learn, left and right side of the brain. Now here's the way the exercises go. If you want a left brain lesson plan, it goes like this. Read the definition. Write the definition. Purely left brain. Read it and write it. If you want to go from left, not to right, but left to whole brain, using both sides, read the definition and then draw what you think you just read. Then you'd have to integrate the left and right side of the brain. You know, we have people in this room with BAs, MAs, and PhDs, still drawing with stick figures, still drawing like 4th graders. It's not your fault. When you were in school, they belittled the right side of the brain. Let me give you a homework assignment. I want you to develop a right brain lesson plan and then evaluate it with a right brain instrument. We have got to find ways to meet our children where they are. They have a strength that we have not been using. And I wish we could have a lot more time on this major area of learning styles. But because of our time, we're now down to about 5 or 7 minutes. I want to now move into the best for last. I want to now look at teacher expectations. I want to now talk about you. I'm now quoting from the work of Wilbur Brookover and Ron Edmonds. They wanted to find out what was the major reason for academic achievement. I am proud to report 3rd, not number 1, is the student's social economic background. Some of us still keep believing, well, how much money is in the home? How many parents are there? It is not number 1. It is 3rd on the list. The 2nd is the school per pupil expenditure. Some of us still keep believing, well, what color is the school bus? How thick is the carpet? But that is also not number 1. How much money is in the school or in the home has never been number 1. Number 1 has never changed. Number 1 remains teacher expectations. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 1920. 1-room school shed, 40 students. The roof was leaking. Only 2 books, and all 40 students learned. Beyond Piaget, beyond Montessori, beyond Glasser, beyond Goodlad, education boils down to 1 word and 1 word only. Do you believe that our children can learn? That seems very simple. The key word is expectation. You know the program. It's called TESSA. Teacher expectation. I got mine. You get.
Okay. Any comments on that? Thanks.
Yes, sir. I have so many comments. I'm going to start with that last part. Comments that are testimonies from years ago in my life, no time recent. In graduate school, I remember there was a test I got 94% on. And in my brain, everything I wrote was correct for my answers. So I went to go talk to the professor. And I did this 2 different times, 2 different professors. I kid you not. Even though one of them, I just got like a 94%, the one I'm talking about. And I remember it was a male that was white. Um, he told me, "You have a 94%. I don't know why you're in my office." Again, expectations. Apparently, you expected either no one or me. And this is what I walked away with. This is before I was even in the truth. You expected no one or specifically me to even get this grade. So you're not even sure why I'm asking you. And I was baffled. If I don't get 100%, you should be able to tell me what I missed and why and explain it to me. The second time I asked a teacher about something I missed, it was a A. I did not know I had the highest grade on the test. So she says that. She said, "Well, you got the highest grade. I don't know why you're in here." And I had to tell her because now I'm frustrated. I said, "So I thought I got everything right. I'm in here because I missed something and I want to know what I missed." So expectations from public school all the way up has always been low for us. Always. And in regards to the video you just played, the clip, the audio, one thing that I feel like many people may not agree with me with, I feel like the segregation being ended was an issue for us, for Israelites. As much as they tell us in public schools that this was a great thing and we learned all throughout the years and we believe this is better for us because now we can be like them. Like he said in the beginning, the teaching they do in the public schools, they do it for a reason, whether it's against us or for their own people. If we're so focused on learning what they are learning, there's no way our people could have even attempted to keep teaching from ancestors that were here years ago to all of us that are here now what we knew long ago because we were too focused on what they were learning. There is no way somebody could have kept up with the culture and the laws from the Lord of Hosts because we were too busy in the public schools. But I agree with a lot of what he said in that video.
Okay, anybody else?
Shalom, brother Leonard. When you talk about those 18 missing years,
Right.
and when they had us in school, this one book called Weapons of Mass Instruction talks about, you know, the school to prison pipeline and
Right.
having us focused on sports, you know, taking advantage of our natural gifts. You know, and I went through that. I played 3 or 4 sports all through school. And then by the time, you know, you get to varsity, they don't even make you do any work. You know, like my excuse me, my last 2 years of high school, I mean, I did the work that I had to, but I'll be honest, there was a lot they didn't make us do, and I didn't even realize it. You know, it was just like, "Oh, you
Right.
good on that? You good on that assignment?" And then, but the higher you go in school, you know, when you get up getting your doctorates and stuff like that, it's just indoctrinating you, you know,
Right.
with their information, not with the truth of the Lord of hosts. But yeah, I
Exactly.
just wanted to say that they definitely take advantage of throwing us off of being intellectual with teaching us to, you know, focus on going to the NBA, buy your mother a house, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. When I saw this video, when my motivation for playing it was, if you remember the movie Roots when it first came on, remember they had the schools on the west coast of Africa. They had the boys, and they always showing it. A lot of people, I don't know if they pay attention to it, but they had these little white clothes things over their waist, over their groin, like it looked like a diaper, but it was tied to Hebrew Israelite, and they had this system in place where the black boys, when they got a certain age, But they made a point to show all that. And then they showed the slave ships can't come. They started capturing the boys. But anyway, that always stuck out with me. And then when we get over here, all I gotta do is look at the curses. He said he cast us out and sent us over among the Gentiles. And then he said we're gonna pick their ways up. So that's the school system, and that's our way of thinking. That's why nobody can to see the Lord of hosts in the scriptures. Because they've been taught from the time they was born up to now who JC is and how to deal with him and how to find him in the scriptures. So it's all right there in the scriptures. All we're doing is playing it out. But we see now that that's being overturned. The Lord of hosts is overturning that. Yeah. Anybody else?
Shalom, everyone. Yes, sir. So as we're speaking, we can go back to Adam and Eve, the beginning. Well, far as alphabets and medicine and civilization, the Africans started that. And if we want to go back through the European history, they taught them how to do a whole lot. They have had universities and everything prior to them coming over to capture the Israelites from Africa and bring them over here to the
Yeah.
West. So if you know someone's capability, you will take that from them and then dumb them down so they can't enrich it and go forward. So you want to get that from them, and that's how I think the school system is. Because within the school system, it's not just to dumb them down; it's to get what they know first. Because they have done so many inventions, and as Black people or as Israelites have came up with so many things. So to say they just want us to not learn how to do these things, we were reading before they came over there and took them away and brought them here. We're not reading English. And this is, well, they're ignorant. You can be ignorant in Africa, China, and all these places if you don't know the language. So basically, Black people are not ignorant. It's just knowing what they know now, like Brittany said, what they know and wanting to know what they know. But they took us as our ancestors and changed our way of living to their way of living. But in the midst of it, they wouldn't know how to do those things if these Blacks, our ancestors, showed them washing machines, mailbox, letters, all these things that they invented. They wouldn't have it today. So again, they're just building off the backs and the intelligence of the Blacks that gave them what they have now, and they just want to take over it. That's the people who, quote unquote, is in charge.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay. So with that being said, this is our need to know information right here.
Willie D. Live.
Let's talk about this company called QTV. This is in Gambia. Gambia is located in West Africa. And, they put up a post on social media about Burkina Faso's leader, Ibrahim Traore, right? Check out what it says, fam. There go that leader. There he is. There's that great guy. There he is. So check out what these people wrote, fam. Now hold on a second. Let me do this right quick. Let me make a move right quick. But like I say, Gambia is a country in West Africa. So this is essentially Burkina Faso's neighbor, because both are located in West Africa, right? And this is what they said. Now you would expect something like this from Western media, right? But this comes from an African nation. And this is what they said. 3 years after coup, Burkina Faso struggles with terrorism despite popular leader. 3 years after Captain Ibrahim Traore seized power in Burkina Faso, the West African nation remains plagued by jihadist violence, even as the army is better armed and thousands of volunteers have joined its ranks. Despite promises to restore security within months, terrorist groups still control large areas, and attacks have left nearly 16,000 people dead over the past 2 years, according to the NGO. ACLED. Human rights groups say political union and press freedoms are under increasing pressure, with reports of arbitrary detentions on the rise. Burkina Faso is now ranked the world's most terrorism-affected country. Nevertheless, Traore's popularity has surged, buoyed by radical reforms that resonate with many Burkinabe. This particular TV channel or whatever, QTV, they can't be trusted. I would not trust them as far as I could throw them.
Exactly.
Why would an African nation say something so disparaging about a nation that makes Africa actually look like they got some kind of nuts? That's right, I said it. It's one of the few nations, he's one of the few leaders that makes Africa look like they got some nuts, some balls. Ibrahim Traore makes Africa look, is one of the few nations that make Africa look like they got some balls, because too many presidents in Africa bow down and kiss the ring to the whites and to the Chinese, and also to anybody that's against Africa. They sell out Africa.
Whoever invented this thing,
a bunch of cowards. This is how the propaganda starts. See, this is a play. This is the same play they ran on Gaddafi. This is the same play they ran on Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a friend of Black people's, but they made us think that he was some type of evil, demonic guy. So when they went in to kill him, nobody said anything. Nobody protested. We thought, hey, they're making the world safer. We just got a little safer. Ooh, good thing, man. If he's doing all that to his people, he deserves to die. That's the way they make us think. That's how the propaganda machine works. When they want to kill you, when they want to assassinate you, they don't just go right in and assassinate you.
Exactly.
First, they assassinate your character. They don't just assassinate, they don't go right in and assassinate the body.
Same with JC.
First, they assassinate the character. First, they assassinate the character. Then they assassinate the body. You see? So right now, this is the same play that they've been running forever. Mm-hmm. They're trying to assassinate this man's character. And next thing you know, they put a hit out on him. And see, they want to assassinate his character first and try to get people to not do business with him. And they try to break the country. They try to act like they care about the people in the country, but they really don't. They don't care if the people starve to death. And they do things to try to, they put sanctions and stuff in place to try to cut that country off from the rest of the world. Is at the top of the list for the world's most terrorism-affected country. Are you sure about that? Because I know we got a lot of terrorists right here in the United States. We got a whole lot of domestic terrorists right here. We got We got so many terrorists right here. We have a mass shooting every day. We got domestic homegrown terrorists right here committing mass murder every day. What the hell is America concerned about what's going on in Africa for?
Exactly.
When she got her own problems right here. You can't even keep Americans safe. Americans are getting their heads blown off every day. You can't even keep Americans safe. We're supposed to believe that you really care about what's going on in little old bitty Burkina Faso?
Okay. Any comments on that?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I think about that all the time. As far as what's going on, and especially the inner cities, wherever in all the 50 states, is violence going on, especially dealing with us. And then they want to act like, they want to help relieve the people in Nigeria. And, it's BS, really.
Exactly, right. And it's back to what they were just talking about. They playing with the mind. They keeping you distracted. And then you have to understand that we've been surveillance ever since before we even got here. Before they came with the slave ships, they had monitored the west coast of Africa and monitoring us before they came. That's how they knew what to do when they got there. So we've been on surveillance for 3,000 years. Okay, so that's how that worked. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions from the women's line, the men's line, or anything they came across when they research, something they heard on these classes you want to talk about? Okay, everybody good?
Brother Leonard, I wanted to ask one question. It might have been on the women's line, but you were playing a video this past week about them not being able to deport Black Americans.
Right.
Could you kind of talk about that in the Rex 84?
Right. Well, they like I said, we've been surveillance, constantly being surveillance, and they trying to dictate what happens to us as a people because they know that who we are and they know the prophecies that's on us. And they call themselves trying to subvert that. But it's Most High, like I said, he got them in the trick bag because now that they want to try to deport us and do all this and that, all this stuff to us, but the Constitution, their own Constitution is against that because we didn't come here like nobody else did. All other immigrants that came here, we was forced here. We was brought here as slaves. No other immigrant in the Constitution came in the same way. So when that person was talking about that on the video, they were saying that because of that, we hands off. And the creator is he's just playing out with the creator. And then not only that, they got plans for us. When you go back to I talk about it a lot in our videos, the King Apple plan, where they got plans to round us up, round us all up. If push comes to shove, they're gonna round us all up and it's within 8 hours and put us in concentration camps. And then I think it was in 1984, they amended that Rex 80, they amended that King Apple plan and they put Rex 84 in it, which Rex 84 is tied to Latinos and Mexicans. And then, like I said, when you understand all that, it's not a coincidence what just happened with Biden administration when they let all these Mexicans over here. It's an ongoing plan they got in place. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody got anything else on that?
Not on that. Um, Brother Shalom, Brother Leonard, Shalom. I wanted to go back to the comment made on the audio about Gaddafi. I I was sitting in class when the planes 9/11 apparently or allegedly hit the towers. And I'm not saying they did or didn't, but I'm saying that's what the news is. So in my research with Gaddafi, I had another brother, a Hebrew Israelite, that I I I will say I was just listening to news and I believed exactly like that clip said. Well, if you said he's doing evil things, that's what happened. And I remember this Hebrew Israelite was not trying to point out that Gaddafi was not what they said. It was just in his talk that it made me go back and do research. So Gaddafi is known for having the longest address speech to the United Nations General Assembly, an hour and a half. And in that, he talks about how the UN Charter doesn't follow what they said, that it's supposed to be about unity and it's a democracy. However, and this is all in my learning, I never knew the UN had people that rotated in and out. I never knew that. Completely oblivious. I thought it was you join. If I join a membership to the YMCA, I join until I want to leave. I didn't know that's not how the UN was. Some countries, they're there for 2 years or less, but regardless, there's 5 nations that have a permanent seat. And in this speech, Gaddafi was saying that's not fair because no matter what we say, China, France, Russia, the UK, and the United States can do what they want to do. It's all just for looks. And he goes on to say that he feels like the African Union, and this is all the way back in 2009, should have a permanent seat. Everybody should have a permanent seat. How can you rotate people out? So that's in 2009. Then we go to 2011, and all of a sudden he's an evil person, and then he dies. I agree with the video. They portray what they want to portray. So once somebody dies, we don't have any sympathy about it or any empathy at all because we believe they're evil because that's what the news said. But I listened to his hour and a half speech for probably just an hour. And it was shocking. He said to everybody's face, the UN is a joke. We're not following what we're supposed to follow. When there's a war, people only get up and protect the people they want to protect. We're not supposed to be going to other people's countries because we don't agree with their beliefs. And he says everybody in the permanent seats, China, France, Russia, UK, and the United States, are always allowed to make wars on others without protection from the rest of the UN. So what is the point? And then conveniently he dies, and we all, and I'm saying we all because it was me. I thought he was supposed to die and he was really an evil person. So I do agree with that last clip you just played. The news, and like we've always said on here, these people will say and portray people and beliefs that they want to confuse the masses.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's all part of the plan. When you look at, like I said, the 18 missing years, they set you up to believe what you hear because they the ones, the information you have, you received it from them. So when they come back with something else, you're gonna gravitate to that. And when you really sit down and think about it, which very seldom people do, they sit down and to think about the things that I know, where they came from, and then you come to find out everything you're doing is just like a computer. You go buy a computer from the store, the computer is not going to do nothing until you put something in it. And the more you put in the computer, the more it do. So that's the same way that's the same way we've been set up. They bought our forefathers over here, that first couple of generations, they wiped them out because they didn't need them. Then they went to work on the youth. And from that point on, the program is where we are now, to where you can show a Negro in a book that he even had all his life. You can show him There's the God in the book you've been dealing with that ain't the God. And you show him the real God in the book, he ain't trying to hear it. That's from programming, what they put in your head. And like I said, the higher you go up after high school, the higher you go up, there's more doors, wicked ass doors that you are going into. You're getting farther and farther away from who you are. That's how that works.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's a similar, and again, somebody can say I'm wrong, but my personal belief is it's similar to Freemasonry, where you have all these degrees,
Right.
where they have people, including Hebrew Israelites, wanting
Right.
to earn degrees. And I will say, there's some people that, like, you want to be a nurse, and the only way to do it is to go to school. I get that.
Right.
But when your mind is set on being higher, because that's what the American culture is to one up everybody, that's ridiculous. And I
Right.
tell people all the time, somebody asks me what my degree is in, I will say it doesn't matter, or I'll tell them, they're like, oh, no, you're smart. I said, no, I don't know anything. I know what they taught me, and that's it. And even, I will tell you, I did not finish with the PhD. I left. I felt like after I got my master's, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I know I talked earlier about what I went to school for. The science and everything, I got it. It's like seminary. It's like everything else. When you go to school, they want you to learn only what they're teaching you. They don't want you to bring up anything that goes against what they're saying. And I find that to be true. I have somebody, my best friend, who is a medical doctor. It's weird when you bring up stuff that is true, but against norms. And it's like everybody's like, no, hush, hush, don't bring that up. So I agree. The higher you go up, it's just more and more brainwashing, just like getting higher degrees in Freemasonry.
Like, yeah, compartmentalization. So, but the thing about it is the educational part of it is not a problem. It's what comes along with it. So like I said, if you know who you are, know who your God is and all that, then that educational part is like Mark's next. But what they've done to us is we don't know who our God is. We don't know who he is. So the higher you go up, you get drawn into that. You can be a doctor, but know who you are. That's a different type of doctor or scholar, but knowing who you are. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that works. And that's the genius part I say about Esau. He done to us. Okay. So yeah. Anybody else got anything on that?
Shalom. Would it be like with the theologian classes, the people who's learning the Bible, that they're taught just to speak on certain aspects of the Bible and not to go further in as we are doing and breaking it down to let the people in the congregation knows what's going on? They are only to preach on certain things, far as what's the curses, and if you don't do them, pay the tithes, you're not good, and all into the New Testament, how they are. So those preachers out there who are supposed to be teachers are giving these people different, you know, different things where they're going to gravitate to who JC is and how it works. And if we really look at it, if you praise something, if you believe in something, that you can do something and you fixate it in your mind, then and it comes to fruition, you think what you were saying brought that on, which it wasn't. It wasn't what you were saying. Like some people would say, JC brought me this car. I got this car because I prayed so much, and then boom, here I am. I have this car because he did it, because I mentioned his name, blah, 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 those things. So as we go on into life and as they're doing the propaganda, you believe in it and you show yourself to say, okay, they're saying this, and then it has to be true, because when they follow up with the line of what they want to happen, then you can say it happened because 1, 2, and 3 did work. when he said it 4 years ago. Now here it is happening. And they don't realize that the Lord of hosts is allowing things to happen so you can say who you believe in. You got to have a faith in who you believe in. And when it gravitates into your soul, into your spirit, then you can really see what's happening is not really from the Lord of hosts. And like you said, Esau is doing these things, but for us to gravitate to the Lord of hosts and let we know in our soul and in our spirits that we can get the blinders off and see these things are happening. And that's just all I have to say.
Okay. So everybody good on that? Okay, so yeah, with that being said, I listened to this, and I said I was going to share it with everybody else. We kind of dealt with some of this information last night, but let me play it. This guy had a vision. I thought it was pretty interesting. Let's check it out.
Shalom, Barakuth, Mishpacha, peace and blessings, family. In this video, I want to talk about a vision that I had about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. For context, as a construction worker, we got to the end of this building. So it was done, but there was still no lights. I didn't really
keep second Ezra, man.
Have much work to do. The building was already complete. They recently just moved me over to, the fence. We're building gates and, the fence around the whole plant. But before that, I had nothing to do at the old, building I was constructing. And so with that being said, I said, I'm bored. I don't want to just be caught on my phone or anything. I'm just going to go meditate and pray to the Most High. Go into the building. It's completely dark in there, really quiet. Love it. Went inside one of the rooms in the building, closed the door, locked the door, prayed to the Most High, said, Yahuwah, I'm about to meditate. Show me a vision, please. And please show me David. I just want to see David. I want to kind of know, is he here right now? Is he a child right now? Is he a baby right now? I just want to know, I'm tired of this captivity. I just want to know where we're at. So anyway, I started meditating, and it's so dark, guys. It's so dark and quiet. It's perfect. And I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. My eyes closed, my body is still. And then, when you do that long enough, I don't know if everybody will experience this, but I know every time I do this long enough, you start seeing stuff in your head. There's visions, man. What's happening is the more your lungs are working, pumping oxygen to the blood into the brain, the more your brain starts producing something known as dimethyltryptamine, also known as DMT. Now, this is the same thing that makes you have dreams. Think about what you're doing when you're sleeping, right? Your eyes are closed, you're being still, and you're just breathing. So what's going to happen is you have a dream, you go into a REM sleep. But see, when you meditate, the same exact thing happens. You're breathing, you're staying still, except you're still conscious, so you're still aware of all your surroundings and everything. And then you start dreaming while you're awake, which I call a vision. And I prayed to the Most High before I did this. And what happened was, first thing I saw was a woman. Now, this woman, she was looking pretty rough. She was wearing this black tank top, wife beater type shirt, muscle shirt, and her hair wasn't really done, and she was just going off and just just looking ghetto. I mean, I ain't even gonna lie, looking ghetto. And I'm confused, like, why am I seeing this? Is this David mom or what's going on? But then it transferred, the dream kind of faded into another vision where now I'm seeing a whole bunch of Israelite women, and they're now dressed in these beautiful garments. They're all wearing dresses. They're all wearing fringes on those dresses. They're all just looking very beautiful. They're rejoicing too. Like, I see them kind of like dancing and praising the Most High. That being said, what I understood from that is Yahuwah is going to heal the daughter of Zion, and perhaps the entire nation, because the nation of Israel is many times in scripture just referred to as she, her, feminine pronouns, and even called a woman in some cases. So that being said, this might just be, the healing of the nation itself, going from this struggling state, this angry state, to a more rejoicing, prosperous state. That being said, the vision's still going on. I'm wondering, what does this have to do with David? But I'm just sitting there. I can end it at any point as well. I can just open my eyes and done. I said, let me just wait, let him cook. So I just continue into this meditation. And eventually what happens is I'm starting to see a whole bunch of Israelite women specifically. Again, it most likely just represents the nation as a whole, leaving up out of their jobs. In this particular case, it was an office building. So far cry from what I do, but it was an office building, big, tall office building. Looked like we was on a high floor. And there was a whole bunch of these Israelite women coming out of the doors of this office building. And they're all wearing these fringes and dresses, and it looks like they're just honestly just trying to brag on the heathen, flex on the heathen, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to, just like we spoiled the Egyptians, right? When we came up out of Mitzrayim, we had all the gold and silver and all the earrings and jewelry. When we come out of this land, these nations around us are going to be economically deprived, while we are going to be prosperous at that time. So it's going to be the similar thing that's going to happen. But I'm seeing a whole bunch of Israelite women leaving these office buildings and stuff, and they're happy. They're just pouring up out of them, and they're all like I said, wearing like Israelite garments, fringes and everything like that. And I see children pouring out of the schoolhouses, little copper-colored children pouring up out of the schools, and then this is what I see. I see a congregation, and in that congregation, right, there's a whole bunch of people singing, and there is a little boy. So imagine you're at a church and there's a pulpit. So a little boy at the pulpit, and he's singing to the whole congregation. He's like, trust Yahuwah, trust Yahuwah. I'm not going to embarrass myself on video singing exactly how I sound, but he sounded really good. The song was basically, the lyrics were trust Yahuwah. And the whole congregation was just lit up, just saying, trust Yahuwah, trust Yahuwah. That was the song. And I saw this boy, he was probably 8 or 9 years old. Not light skinned, not really dark skinned. And he had a low haircut. And he was singing really talented. He had a really good talent of singing. He had his whole congregation of, copper-colored people, by the way. They wasn't calling on JC. They wasn't calling on Christ. They wasn't saying the Son. They were saying trust Yahuwah. So this was the Israelite congregation, people who knew who we are, people that know about our Elohim and know about our Torah. And there was a young boy who was singing, praising the Most High in the presence of the congregation, had a great valor for the Most High, man. A lot of zeal for righteousness. And when I saw that, that was the last part that I saw. And I knew that was David. Because I prayed, show me David, and that's the only male I've seen for real. Everything else is women. I think the Most High did that just to let me know none of these people are going to be David. He's just trying to show me the nation of Israel, the prophecy concerning Israel, the awakening, the healing, the gathering. I seen boys amongst the little children leaving the schools, but when I seen a singled out person, that was the only male specifically that was singled out in the vision. Okay.
Okay. Any comments on that? That trigger anything for anybody?
Shalom, brother Leonard. When the what do you say? When the I think it's in Daniel, that vision kind of remind me when he says he had the one like the Son of Man coming with the Ancient of Days.
Right. Right. Yeah, it reminds me of Second Ezra. Remember when he said he saw a woman crying in the field? He went in and try to tend to her, and then all of a sudden the woman turned into a city.
Okay, right. Sir.
Yeah, so that's what it reminds me of. But the crazy part about it is, he said that we was gonna, like, just like we left Egypt, we're gonna leave this place and we break wealth, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Well, but this brother say America is the place. That's the part about it that tripped me out. I mean, he adamant about it, saying that America is Israel, but he just said we leaving out of here with great substance in a dream. But anyway, yeah. What you think?
Yeah, that was one thing that I saw is confusing about his videos to me, just because I know he talks about that Utah area and Arizona
Right.
and things like that, but it doesn't make sense, like you just said, when you're talking about getting on the ships, and we came here on ships, like, so it
Right.
wouldn't make sense for this to be the land.
Right. That's crazy. Okay. Anybody else got anything on that? Yeah, so let me get over here. I got this. Let me try to work this. Let's see. Okay. Okay.
This video will cover Grand Wizard Albert Pike's 3 World War predictions, which are quite frankly stunning. But first, I want to give a background on the person who exposed the Illuminati's preparations for World War III and how they plan to use Islam to destroy the West. A secret diary was released by a man with information about elitist organizations and the New World Order. This diary documents that the Illuminati already knows what is going to happen for World War III. It's already mapped out. The agenda's already set. The diary that exposes this agenda belonged to a man named William Carr, who was born in 1895. Carr entered into Canada's Royal Navy at a very young age and ascended to the position of commander. He knew many at the top of their fields in politics and law and in academia. His side hobby was writing books, specifically books on the New World Order. His books documented the breadth in which the Illuminati had taken over all aspects of society, including churches and seminaries. In fact, Carr claimed to have received an SOS letter from a high-ranking official in the Roman Catholic Church in November 1958. The letter outlined a hostile takeover that was underway in the Vatican, the Illuminati having infiltrated the Vatican's quarters. Carr would die less than a year after receiving the SOS message. Carr also documented history behind the most elusive organization in world history, the Illuminati, and their religion, which is Luciferianism. He believed that modern organizations, including the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations, are Luciferian political organizations. He also believed that the chief governing body for Lucifer, for the ascension of the capstone, was the United Nations, and he documented this in his books. Carr wrote several books. His most controversial book was published after his death. It is called Satan, Prince of this World, and is really nothing more than Carr's personal diary and notes he saved for many years. In this book, Carr documents receiving the SOS letter from the high-ranking Vatican official, but he also documents other interesting things. For example, Carr believed that secret societies weren't working independently of one another, but that they were controlled by a top-level organization called the World Revolutionary Movement. And that's literally in his book, Satan, Prince of the World. This organization at the top tier is interested in inciting war, terrorism, and distress to serve its fundamental interests. And that is to establish the New World Order, a Luciferian system of governance and religion. Carr speaks at length about World War III in his book, Satan, Prince of the World. He documents that World War III was planned by a 33rd degree Grand Wizard named Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a notorious Luciferian who openly praised Lucifer in his book Moral and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Pike was also a general for the Confederacy during the Civil War and a wizard of occult magic, channeling and summoning of spirits. William Carr documented that Albert Pike wrote a letter to a friend in 1871 outlining the final and largest of the wars. According to Carr, what Albert Pike actually wrote was a lot more than a letter. It was a blueprint that spelled out exactly what would happen in the last war. Carr said, quote, "In the 1860s, Albert Pike is recorded as saying his military program might take 100 years or a little longer to reach the day when those who direct the conspiracy at the top will crown their leader king despot of the entire world and impose a Luciferian totalitarian dictatorship upon what is left of the human race." That's what they're saying. Pike seems to indicate a conspiracy to start a war so that the Antichrist can ascend to his position as world ruler. Pike's letter ironically also detailed the specifics of the first two wars with stunning accuracy, suggesting that he knew before time the details surrounding each of the wars. World War I, according to Pike, would be fought to overthrow the czars in Russia and change Russia into a communist state. The Second World War would be fought for two reasons: to establish the State of Israel and to expand communist control over Europe. The Third World War will be what allows the Novus Ordo Seclorum. The Third World War will be what allows the Novus Ordo Seclorum to rise out of the dust. According to Pike, Islam will be the central factor in the downfall of the West. Islam will be decimated in the process, allowing for the new religion of pure Luciferianism to spread on the earth. All Muslims will fall for this system. There isn't a single Muslim on earth who will not partake in the religion of the New World Order, according to Pike. Islam is merely a tool to destroy the Christian West. That's it. That's all it is. It's a tool. That's what they said hundreds of years ago. The master plan to use Islam was kicked off in 2001 when the fear of Americans was taken advantage of by an esoteric cabal lurking in the shadows. In his inaugural address, George W. Bush proclaimed that an angel would ride the whirlwind and direct the storm. The master plan was unveiled in 2001 for World War III. They started Albert Pike's blueprint when they flew 2 planes into the World Trade Centers and blamed it on Islam. The storm that would come and the angel that would bring it were long-awaited prophetic fulfillments. And as Albert Pike, Grand Wizard of the craft, had predicted, Islam would be the choice religion to use to foment a crisis between it and the West that would only get worse. What is the common factor? Every time we see a crisis, who's behind it? Islam. And they want you to believe it's organically an issue of Islam. This was planned hundreds of years ago, and they have quite a plan for Islam. The esoteric cabal is using Islam to achieve the great work. It's all been mapped out. We've seen what they're doing with the migrant crisis. We've seen what they've done in England with the Sharia courts, and on and on and on. They're using Islam to stir the pot. The system has to come down. It has to topple. Islam will be used for the ultimate goal, and that is to fully usher in the Luciferian capstone. They're going to keep using it to destroy Western Christianity, Western culture. It's going to happen, and there's really nothing you can do about it except to pray. That's it. That's what we're called to do. It's been predicted. They've known about this since at least the late 1800s.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Yes, sir. I agree with the gist of the video, the clip you played for us. I have a book called The 13th Tribe, and it talks about how the Khazars were given the option to be Jewish, Christian, or of Islamic faith. And they blatantly say that they chose to be Jewish. But this clip explains in a very brief summary why they chose that. They've known all along that if they would have chosen Christianity, they probably would have been burned off the face of the earth or killed. And if not, they would have been choosing to be Islam or Muslim, which would be the enemy of the Christians. So still they wouldn't have any justice. So they were given a choice out of the 3 religions we're going to have on this earth many years later. Which one do you want to be? Now everybody else wasn't given the choice. They were just brainwashed into whatever was left over.
Most people don't understand. Most people don't know nothing about that. None of that. Like the the Khazars. When they say Khazars, they right there in the Genesis chapter 10. One of Japhet's children. That's why I keep saying that Japhet ain't none of Noah's son. That's Cain. The serpent slept with Eve and got the Gentiles. And one of the sons is the Khazarians, the synagogue of Satan. It's
Yes,
right there.
sir, exactly.
They don't, and then me looking at that, the capstone they keep talking about is the temple that they're trying to build. That's where all the chaos is gonna come down there. They want to build that temple. They want to rule the world for 1,000 years from Jerusalem. And these are Edomites, Zionists. They're the ones they're talking about. It's at the top of the pyramid. It's all predicated off of our scriptures. Like I said, go back to the typology. So yeah, that's what that's all about. And the more you get into that and understand that it's only 2 people that's what we're dealing with. That's Esau and Jacob. And when they was born, it played out. Jacob or Esau came out first. He wasn't supposed to, but he came out first, and Jacob grabbed a hold of his heel. And it tells you that's the end of this world is Esau. Esau, the one that's over there in the land of Israel, posing as Israelites. He the one gonna try to build a temple. And then the new age that's coming is Jacob. And we looking at it play out. Okay. Anybody else got anything on that?
And Brother Leonard, all of this is part of that 1,000-year rule, right? Into rule with Jesus.
One day with the Lord.
Right.
Right. And it's like I said, they got it all out of the scriptures and concocted it. That's what Hitler was objective was. When he came with the Blitzkrieg and all that stuff, he wanted to rule the world for 1,000 years from Jerusalem. And to go a little further into that, it's in my earlier videos, Cerinthius. So you say, who was Cerinthius? That's John. That's the Greek name was John. That's how we know John is a bunch of bull crap. But Cerinthius, the one started that 1,000-year reign. He the one started that. That's all you got to do is Google him. You're gonna see that's who John is. They didn't give him the English name, but his actual Greek name was Cerinthius. And they didn't, you know what I'm saying? And that's all that type of information is needed. But to have, especially when you start dealing with these Christians, you show them this stuff and they breaking it down. And when you reject it, it's the repercussion to it. Okay. So yeah, with that being said, I was gonna read.
Brother Leonard.
Okay.
It's I saw in the video that showed those towers I was talking about, and it came to me conveniently. And I don't know if people know this. I learned this much later in life, that at first, before forming an African union, Gaddafi was trying to form an Islamic or Muslim union.
Right.
And he was basically defeated in doing that. It just, they would not let him do it.
Right.
So conveniently, after talking to the United Nation and making sense, 2 and 2 was making 4 while he spoke for an hour and a half. I think they quickly said, we got to get him out of here. There's no way for us to make Islam look evil if it doesn't look evil, if we keep letting him speak things that are kind and nice, and that makes sense. So conveniently, he was taken out in 2 years of making that speech. Apparently, he just no longer was able to cease to exist. But yeah, the Albert Pike thing, this is my second comment. A lot of things, and I never know how to take them. I think sometimes, I know this week I've already asked you, I have the question of, if there is not a male that's over the female, whether it's a husband or a father, walking in truth, how do you go on? Because things come to me and I'm like, well, what does it mean? So I've lived in the area I've lived in for quite some time. And this week, I kid you not, I've seen Masonic lodges. It dawned on me that one that's across from this hospital, it's an Albert Pike. That's what it's called, the Lodge of Albert Pike. It's been here since the 1800s. And so sometimes things just all come together when I'm in these classes, like, oh, okay. So for you to bring up Albert Pike on that video, that I don't know what the Lord of Hosts is trying to show me, but that was just something, because I didn't know why that lodge came to my attention earlier this week.
Right, yeah, right. So they do those people, like I said, he's talking about compartmentalization. Those Edomites, they're the ones they at the top of the pyramid that you see on the dollar bill. They're the ones and they go all the way back. You got to trace them all the way back. but that's who's been hid in the scriptures. And nobody, especially with Christianity, but they the ones that, the whole thing, they set it up. Like you said, and then not only that, they know how the spiritual part of it. Like I said, understanding that the body is one part, the soul is another part. Most people don't really know how all that break down. So then you go to when those giants were created. They had a spirit in them. When they died, that spirit still exists, right? They know how to summon those spirits. That's what when you say wizards and Aleister Crowley and all them, they know how to summon those spirits. That's what Saul did when he went to the Witch of Endor. And so they totally took that understanding away from people on the earth. It's these hierarchies, they dealing with it. And that's how they got all the money flowing toward them. They dealing with it. It's sort of like Back to the Future. When the guy was able to go back to the future and he was able to get all the money because he had all the information from he had went in the past and he knew what was getting ready to happen, so he positioned himself to get all the money. That's all they doing. All these people you got with the billionaires, trillionaires, and all this money, they dealing with those spirits of those giants. But they got you thinking that they ain't here. They don't exist. That is some kind of folklore. But that's what's going on. They know how to summon them. They keep interacting with them. That's what Albert Pike done. Okay.
Yes, sir. I have a question. Would it be right to say that Mastema, who was left over in charge of these evil spirits, the demons,
Right.
is who they're basically worshiping and getting their, what, for lack of better words, power from?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's not that they necessarily worshiping it. Those spirits that came from the giants is being used to cause people to worship these angels. For example, Lucifer is bound, right? Those 200 angels were bound, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
But they got a spirit. So when they say Lucifer is going to come back de facto, what do they mean? His spirit is here, but he's not here because the body is bound. He said, cover them over, put rocks and stones over them and cover them over where they can't see no light. So it's going to come a time when they're going to be, the body and the spirit going to be connected. That's what they mean by de facto. But right now, he's limited to what he's doing because it's just his spirit. Same way with the giants. They bodies were destroyed, but the spirit's still here. But Lucifer and those other angels was bound. Their bodies ain't gone nowhere, disintegrated. It's just that they bound, they chained up or bound or whatever, but they still have the ability to deal with those other spirits to have them doing things. And that's what the book of Enoch was reason why it was taken out, and the understanding of all that information was taken out because for us not to understand that. We thinking that it's some kind of folklore, but the whole time it's it's actually real. It's you dealing with it. For example, when the guy was talking about the young buck was talking about he was in this dark room. He made a point, not he might not really know what he's talking about because he's been talking to me, but he don't know. But the thing was that when you understand that we have a pineal gland, that's what he was given to us as Hebrew Israelites. That's what those angels are coming dealing with when it says that the angel entered into him like the angel entered into Daniel. The pineal gland, that's the portal. These angels, when they say Gabriel brought a dream, brought a vision. Okay, well, that what triggers that pineal gland is pitch black darkness. When it get in pitch black darkness, it awakens, it illuminates. And so I'm not talking about something that I don't know. I realized that. I said, because I was, like I said, I came up in a situation, I came up scared of the dark. So I always kept my light on. But when I started dealing with the Lord of hosts and started searching all this information out, then I said, well, let me see what's up if that's the case. So it's a whole different thing at night when you're in a pitch black room and go to sleep than when you go to sleep with and this part of the plan they got everything lit up. And go back to the ancient world, our forefathers. It wasn't all this light like it is now at night. So all that's affecting us. Even like they was talking about earlier with the sun, what the sun do to us, what the sun does to our hair. So in the morning when you wake up, your body secretes that pineal gland secretes I don't know the name of the substance, but it secretes a certain substance to help you wake up and come, start moving around. Then at night, it secretes another substance. All that's going on a day-to-day basis with us as Israelites, melanated people. All that ain't happening to them. But we ignorant to the fact of all that. And that's when you start reading about dreams and visions and these angels, all that's at play. Even though you might be dumb as hell and don't understand none of it, it's still happening. It's just that you get empowered when you find out the truth about it, and then you start incorporating it into your life. But yeah. So first thing I would do is I say try it. We avoid pitch black rooms, but we see in the beginning, he said it was darkness over the whole earth, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. That's who we are. But we avoid that. They got all kinds of lights you can plug in your wall, little night lights, and you don't want to be in the dark. But that's what the Lord of hosts said. That's what these angels said. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. I completely agree with that. I have learned the same thing. Now, when we talk about us being in a bright land where the sun is up for 12 hours consistently and not
Right.
just 6, 8, or 4 or 5, whatever you want to diminish it down to, there's a reason why we were there. You're right. You say this all the time. People can look it up. They can Google it, whatever search engine you have. But it clearly states within the Bible, the sun and the moon was made. I tell my nieces and nephews all the time, up with the sun, down with the sun. Turn everything off. Turn it off. The light room, the reading lamp. I mean, if you're reading through the scripture, fine, but turn it off when you're ready to sleep. And I had a nephew that, same thing, Brother Leonard, was scared of the dark. And it was something because, and I still don't know what this means, but once he started sleeping in darkness throughout the day, specifically at night before going to bed, like actually sleeping, even though his room was dark, he'd come around and say, "Did you call me?" And I was nervous. All I could think was 1 Samuel chapter 3. So I said, if you keep thinking I'm calling you, you need to pray because I'm not saying your name. I am not saying your name. But that only started after he started turning off his nightlight. We eventually took it out of his room. But man, it's something not to stick to what the Lord created. We do. We have all types of lights for nighttime now.
Right. It's all intentional. Like I said, we've been surveyed ever since we got here, even before we got here. But I'm gonna show you this right here in Daniel, what I'm talking about. And this is the part that dazzle me when the Lord host started dealing with me on that. So I'm in Daniel, and it says, like I said, we can't go listen to nothing these people say. That's what you finally learn, because they got you doing the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. So in Daniel, we always in chapter 9. It says, Daniel chapter 9 says, in the first year. So Daniel actually operating on everything I just said. It says, in the first year of Darius, Darius the son of Aorus, a seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. Then here you go, verse 2. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of years wherefore the word of the Lord came unto Jeremiah the prophet. And he says that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolation of Jerusalem. Then here you go. This is what Daniel did. I set my face unto the Lord God, Lord of hosts. See, you're missing out right there when you don't understand who he is. So he says, I set my face unto the Lord God to seek by prayer. See that? Prayer and supplication with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. All that's tied to the pineal gland, right? And I prayed unto the Lord, my God, and I made myself my confessions, and I said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love thee and to them that keep thy commandments. Now watch this. So he did what he's supposed to do, what he's taught by all his forefathers for him, Enoch and all them, right? Now here you go. Verse in this 20. And while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sins and the sins of my people Israel, and presenting my supplications before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God, yea, while I was speaking in prayer, see that? Everything he did over there. Even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision, that's the pineal gland, at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. So if he hadn't did what he done, Gabriel wouldn't have came. Now 22. And he informed me, Gabriel came, informed me and talked with me, and he said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. Now here you go. At the beginning of thy supplication, when you start praying, right? At the beginning of thy supplication, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand and the matter and consider the vision. So, like he said, like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, you can't pray and don't say nothing. Gabriel said that when you start praying and you start making a request and talking, that I heard that. So all right here is all playing out right here, but we've been brainwashing that we don't know the process. You can't make a request, but you don't say it. You just go. They say go in your prayer room or your prayer closet and meditate. No, that ain't how it works. We see what Daniel did. Then Gabriel came after he made the request because he watching, and then he came and told him. And we know the Lord of hosts sent him. So he said, I heard you when you first started doing what you did. I heard all that. Okay. Matter of fact, let me get the other part of that. Okay, let me get it. It says must start at 10 and 8. Therefore I was left alone, saw the great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for the comeliness was turned into me into corruption, and restraint and no strength. I had no strength. Yet I heard the voice of his words. And when I heard the voice of his words, then I was in a deep sleep on my face, all this tied to the pineal gland, and my face toward the ground. And behold, a hand touched me and set me upright on my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken these words unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel. Here you go. For from the first day that thou didst set thy heart, see that? We ain't doing this. First day that I did set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard. So see that? So if you ain't never speak the words, ain't nothing for them. So he says, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. See that? That's how
Yes,
simple that is.
yes, sir.
Hezekiah did it. All of them did it. Solomon. We ain't doing that. And then we ain't doing it in right mind, the right mind, and we ain't doing it in righteousness. Because he told us, if you do that, then he coming. Okay?
Yes, sir. And I wanted to also say it makes a difference who you're praying to. I would hate from anybody to walk away and be yelling out Jesus out loud and then say it doesn't work. But Jesus is not the person you're praying to.
Exactly. Right. Oh yeah. So yeah. So that I was gonna read Second Ezra, but I'll read Second Ezra tonight. The man that came up out of the sea. We're gonna somebody pick a scripture and we'll read that scripture and break it down before we close out. Okay, I'm gonna read out of Daniel since I was just in Daniel. I'll read this Michael description of Lord of Hosts. Okay, I'm in Daniel chapter 10. I start at verse 2. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And in the 4th and 20th, so like I said before, so he wouldn't have done this, he wouldn't have got this right here. And in the 4th and 20th day of the first month, as I was by the side of the river, which is Helical, then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man, clothed in linen, whose loins were girded about with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like beryl, and his face has the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like the color of polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. So we see right here, if Daniel wouldn't start fasting and praying and all that, and making supplications, then Michael would never showed up. But it's a process, and we see it once you understand it, you're awakened to it. Then you see it. You see all them prophets. Everybody doing the same thing. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. See everybody this evening for our evening Shabbat class. We're gonna close out close out Shabbat this evening at 6 p.m. Central Time. Shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.